Because I think something's going to go wrong within the next year that should propel gold a lot higher. But, obviously, gold should already have moved much higher. And so the fact that it's still here, that doesn't rule out the fact that it can stay here for a while. But all of the fundamentals that are going to push gold much higher, they're all there. In fact, every day those fundamentals get stronger and stronger for gold. So to the extent that this trend continues, it should benefit gold dramatically. And gold is much too cheap. It's just north of 2,000 an ounce. It should be a lot higher than that, and it will be a lot higher than that.
It's becoming increasingly evident that there's a concerted effort to reduce reliance on the dollar gradually. China, Russia, and many other countries are just flat out sick and tired of the United States' heavy-handed attempt to rule over every economy in the world. This can easily be seen in the vast number of brokerage firms across the globe that no longer accept U.S. residents as clients. Think of the fortune in investment dollars that they're choosing to forego. Why? Because they're unwilling to knuckle under U.S. financial market regulations. The push toward de-dollarization accelerated in 2023, particularly among the growing group of BRICS countries. Argentina, Bolivia, and Brazil have all dumped the U.S. dollar for import buying, instead beginning to use China's currency. The move away from U.S. dollar dominance has been especially noticeable in the all-important oil market. While the U.S. dollar was once virtually the only currency used to purchase oil in the Middle East, many countries have shifted to using other currencies. JPMorgan reports that the U.S. dollar has fallen by more than 50% in foreign exchange reserves worldwide. Prominent economist and gold advocate Peter Schiff suggests that this trend toward de-dollarization should significantly benefit gold. As the move away from the dollar is accelerating at a record pace, it should have made gold soar to much higher levels. However, surprisingly, it's still hovering around $2,000. Nonetheless, the current dip in gold prices is likely temporary, similar to dips experienced by other assets during economic shifts. Despite current prices, Peter expects its value to surge significantly. In his recent tweet, Peter mentioned gold as real money, reinforcing its status as a reliable store of value amidst currency fluctuations. We will present clips from Peter Schiff's interview with Stephen Gardner. But before we do, if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Well, I think it's already happening, slowly. It's pretty obvious that there's an effort to de-dollarize. It's proceeding, at a, moderate pace. But I think that when you'll know that we're about to really feel it is you'll probably see it in the foreign exchange market, where you'll start to see a big drop in the dollar. You'll see it in the precious metals market. You'll see a big rise in gold. Maybe in the bond market, you start to see a really big drop in long-term bond prices. So none of these things have really happened yet. I mean, bond prices have come down, but they haven't completely collapsed. The dollar's been relatively stable, and the price of gold, too, has been hanging around $2,000 an ounce. I mean, yeah, it's near record highs, but it hasn't really, broken out to much higher prices. So those things are going to happen. And when they do happen, then you pretty much know that it's over. Well, gold should go way up. I mean, de-dollarizing only works, because you got to buy something with the dollars. If you're getting out of the dollar, you got to get into something. And the something that they would get into would be gold. So to the extent that this trend continues, it should benefit gold dramatically. And gold is much too cheap. It's just north of 2,000 an ounce. It should be a lot higher than that. And it will be a lot higher than that. It's just hard to say with any degree of certainty whether it'll happen this year or certainly over the next 5 years. It seems to me that that's a time frame that I would be very shocked if 5 years from now gold isn't many multiples of its current price. Because I think something's going to go wrong within the next year that should propel gold a lot higher. But obviously, gold should already have moved much higher. And so the fact that it's still here, that doesn't rule out the fact that it can stay here for a while. But all of the fundamentals that are going to push gold much higher, they're all there. In fact, every day those fundamentals get stronger and stronger for gold. Well, I mean, first of all, the Federal Reserve, all it owns is treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. So it isn't going to buy gold. I mean, that'd be the last thing that it would do. And plus, pushing up the price of gold is the last thing the Fed wants to see. So the Fed's not going to buy it. Now, the Treasury, how are they going to buy gold? We're running $2 trillion deficits right now, actually closer to $4 trillion. So is the Treasury going to go into debt more to buy gold? I mean, that seems like the last thing they're going to do. So I know the U.S. isn't going to be buying any gold. I mean, we might end up selling gold whoever knows how much we've got left, but we're broke.
Yeah.
And so we may end up having to sell gold, and foreign central banks would be happy to buy it from us. But yeah, I don't see the U.S. government buying gold. It should have a lot more gold. I mean, 70% of our total reserves are in gold, which is about the highest in the world. But our total reserves are tiny compared to the size of our currency market and our bond market. So but no, I think the BRIC countries are going to be buying as much gold as they could get, and if we were to sell, they would buy it all.
According to Peter, inflation is essentially how the Biden administration funds its extensive spending initiatives. By definition, the administration cannot rein in inflation unless it significantly curtails its spending, which is not its intention. The government is currently running substantial deficits, and inflation serves as the mechanism to cover these deficits. Peter stresses that consumers' higher prices at stores effectively act as a tax, enabling the government to sustain its massive spending endeavors. As long as the government continues to spend beyond its tax revenue, the Federal Reserve will continue to monetize the deficit, resulting in inflation. Moreover, Peter asserts that the inflationary pressures predate Biden's tenure, but are being exacerbated by the current administration's spending policies. Inflation will only worsen because there is no concerted effort to reduce government spending. In January, the Consumer Price Index increased by 3.1% from a year earlier, slightly lower than December's 3.4%, but surpassing economists' expectations of 2.9%. This suggests that inflation is likely to continue rising due to government spending and loose monetary policies. Of course, this poses significant challenges for individuals and businesses alike, as they grapple with rising prices and diminishing real wages. As Peter warns, unless there is a fundamental shift in fiscal and monetary policy, the trajectory of inflation is set to worsen, with far-reaching implications for the economy as a whole. Let's get back to the interview.
Well, remember, I mean, inflation is the way the Biden administration pays for all of its spending. So by definition, it can't get inflation under control unless it wants to cut spending, which they don't want to do. They want to keep spending more and more money on all kinds of programs. The government is running a huge deficit, and inflation is the way to pay for it. The way we're paying for government is through higher prices. So when people go to the store and they see that the price of things that they want is higher, that's a tax. Those higher prices are making it possible for the government to run these massive deficits. So as long as we're spending money that we don't collect in taxes, the Fed's going to be monetizing the difference, and we're going to have inflation. And in fact, we're still dealing with the inflation that was created even before Biden took office. I mean, he is adding to the pipeline, but there's a lot of inflation that's pent up, that has yet to hit us, but it's coming.
Yeah. So you're thinking that it's going to get worse, not better.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no chance that inflation is gonna come down. I mean, it's going a lot higher because they're not doing anything about reducing government spending, and individuals keep spending. I mean, credit card debt is at a record high, household debt is at a record high. Everybody is borrowing and spending money. I mean, so prices can only go up. What we're not doing is producing. We have fewer and fewer people in the productive economy. A lot of people have left the labor force, and the ones that are still there are working in government, they're working in healthcare, they're working in services. They're not, really working to produce a lot of the goods that we all buy. And so we have fewer goods and more money chasing them. So prices keep going up. I mean, the markets have been going up, led higher by a very narrow group of stocks. The average stock is not making much progress. But the market is overpriced. It's still being propped up by the Fed. I mean, despite what the Fed says, they claim that their monetary policy is restrictive. It's actually easy. Rates are still too low. The Fed's balance sheet is still much too large. If you look at debt levels and spending levels, they would reflect easy money. The same thing with the stock market. The Fed is very accommodative. Is it as accommodative as it was? No. I mean, it was more accommodative a couple of years ago when rates were zero and it was still doing QE. But rates are still too low. And even though they've shrunk the balance sheet, they haven't shrunk it enough. They're still providing too much credit into the economy, and you can see that in all the debt and all the spending. Meanwhile, the fiscal policy is highly expansionary and inflationary. It's, massive Keynesian stimulus is going into the economy.
Despite a 2% decrease since the beginning of the year, gold's demand remains robust due to ongoing geopolitical risks, potentially enhancing its global appeal. Market expectations hint at the likelihood of higher prices this year, especially if demand continues to rise, alongside central banks' ongoing gold purchases as part of de-dollarization efforts. Share your thoughts on Peter's prediction in the comment section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.